Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It is Tuesday. It's October 22nd, and that means it's NBA opening night. Only a 2-game NBA slate for opening night, but we had to talk some NBA. It's back. That means we'll be back on the daily grind here, talking NBA and NFL on Thursdays, Wednesday nights, Thursdays. So NBA every other night. And yeah, we get started with a 2-game NBA slate, joined today by TastefulTides, Timothy Buell. What's happened, Tim?
Yeah, not much, Stevie. Been watching these 2 Monday night games, been getting crushed in DFS. I think I had my worst Sunday ever. We were just talking about that. I had so many goose eggs in my main lineup. Boy, was that a disaster. Tank Dell call by me. Yeah, that was a rough Sunday.
Well, I mean, I was on Tank Dell. I didn't end up playing him in my main lineup. I don't play cash games. I call it main lineup because I played in a lot of single entry contests. But yeah, I mean, I liked Tank Dell. I wrote up his prop. He was the only prop that I missed. I went 5-1 on props, my early week props, and he was the only one I missed this week. And I almost it's probably my second favorite prop going into the weekend. AJ Brown was my favorite. I had that as a 2-unit one and absolutely loved him, and he crushed it in the first half. So, but yeah, I mean, NFL in the books. And yeah, I mean, the Monday night slate for me, I'm getting absolutely crushed. If you read expert survey or anything like that on RotoGrinders, my stand was to be underweight on Baltimore pass game. Not working out. I knew, and I even said it on there that it was going to be a boomer bust slate for me. It's definitely going to be a bust slate. We move on. I feel like on 2-game slates, you have to take a stand. And it was just a big stand for me. So I was way under on Zay. Obviously, way under on Bateman. I went way over on Michael Wilson, hoping that I could get the 1v1 on Wilson and Bateman. That didn't work. So definitely ready to move on to some NBA and get started on this 2-game NBA slate. Tim, before we jump in, NBA, it's its own animal. It's such a different DFS game, I feel like, than any other DFS sport you play. What are your biggest things when going into NBA DFS?
Yeah, I mean, I really love the grind of NBA DFS. I was on a show last night for Showdown with Kyle Murray, just talking about how I actually really just love the late news, late swapping, swapping really quickly before lock, for those game time decisions. I still think, there's a little bit of edge in that process and knowing what to do. So really, I mean, that to me is the most important part of your process. Should be. This is the most important part of my process, is to be prepared and ready and know what to do in terms of your exposures and in terms of late swapping and leaving spots open for late news. I think there's a lot of art and science to that. So that is my favorite part. We don't get that a lot in the other sports so much. So, and there's a little bit of that in football, but not really much late news in football. We do have late swapping, but in NBA, there's both. So I definitely take advantage of that.
All right. I mean, I don't have anything else to really add. I will say that I personally wish that we still had an option that didn't have late swap. As a dad with 3 kids, it is much harder for me to play NBA DFS than it was 5 years ago. I do a lot more sports betting with NBA, and I do a lot more. I basically make 1 to 3 lineups a night with NBA. I talk about this on the podcast for the last few years. So I have a main lineup that I'll put in single entry. I have some tickets for the opening night NBA, and I don't have a lot going on tomorrow night, so I'll probably end up playing pretty good on this slate. More just because I picked up tickets than anything else. I wouldn't just go out and build a bunch of lineups on this slate for no reason. I think Derrick Henry just took one to the house for 80 yards. So if anybody that played Derrick Henry, he got tackled at the 10. Derrick Henry, man, doesn't do anything all night. One big play out of nowhere, and I think he's going to be really close to his 100-yard bonus on that one play. So there you go. So yeah, I mean, my NBA has never has obviously changed over the years. It's a lot more sports betting now. It's a lot more single entry, and that's kind of where I'm at. So when I talk NBA, and I'll talk throughout this NBA season about the same stuff. This is what I focus on. So there'll be nights where I know I don't have a lot going on, and I'll play NBA. But most of the time, it's like, does my wife and kids have something going on? Because that's
Right.
when I get the time to play NBA. So I am.
Yeah. That's why I only play like 1 to 3 teams at most, is because I just can't manage all of them, but I can manage one to 3.
Yeah. I will say, I am very excited for SimLabs NBA. So when I do want to get into more contests, I'm definitely gonna be messing around with SimLabs. I'll definitely be messing around with it tomorrow. For this slate, like I said, I have some tickets for that opening tip-off contest, and I think SimLabs, for someone like me, where hey, I want to play this slate. I know there's a few guys that I really like, and I can go in and I can bump up those exposures and SimLabs and stuff, and just kind of make like a 20 entry build 5 minutes before lock, and not have to do a lot, and projections team doing all the work for me. So I feel like, and this is yeah, I'm definitely promoting the product, but I feel like SimLabs is an absolute game changer. Definitely for NBA. I use it for NFL and I used it for baseball a little bit. I'm still kind of old school when it comes to baseball. I still like to be able to build out my stacks that I like, and I typically only play 3 lineups a night for baseball. But NBA, I think SimLabs is a huge product. So if you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend checking it out for the NBA season, because I mean, with projections updating constantly in the last hour before lock and everybody getting ruled out, like you said, it'll start the first, second week of season where we have a lot of injury news, and a lot of stuff kind of shifting. I think that's where SimLabs is just absolutely massive. So if you haven't checked out SimLabs, there's a lot of stuff you can do with SimLabs, and you could do it really fast, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So yes, I'm promoting the product. I think it's an amazing product that we've built here at RotoGrinders. If you haven't already, on Monday, I talked to Shot Quality SQ, Justin Perry from SQ. We did a new partnership with them that has a lot of predictive data. I'm very excited about that product and how it's going to kind of work out here with the NBA projections and stuff. So you can check out, there's an article on the main page that kind of breaks it down. It's $39.99 a month, and you get access to that. So
and I just want to say about your show with Justin Perry from Shot Quality. That was a really good show, Stevie. I listened to that because I had questions. I didn't know what it was, and you guys did a fantastic job of answering them. It's a really worthwhile show to listen to. So great job on that, Stevie.
Yeah, if you're interested in the product at all, check it out. The cool kids call it SQ. It's Shot Quality. They're using a lot of real-time data to make really good stuff. High-end stuff that takes out a lot of biases. So if you haven't checked that out, I definitely, and I appreciate the kind words. It's like I've been doing this for a little while, and I didn't cough a lot, which is a kind of a win. I remembered right before the show with Tim to go get cough drops. So I should be okay for this show too. I'm getting back in the groove of things. So being underweight and fading Baltimore past game, not a good thing for me. So I'm ready to overlook or get past this Monday Night Football slate, and let's talk some basketball. We got 2 games. We get started with the Knicks and the Celtics. 221.5 total here. Boston, a 5.5 point favorite. It's very early in the season. This is when we're still kind of guessing what rotations are going to be, especially for the Knicks, because obviously they were involved in that big trade with the Timberwolves. They're both on this slate. We'll talk about the Timberwolves in the next game. We'll do it morning grind style, game by game. We'll start with the Knicks. They're on the road in Boston facing the champs. What do we like here for the Knicks?
Yeah, some new faces here for New York. It's definitely going to be a new look for them in many different ways. This game is, I was surprised to see that this total was higher than the next game, but it's probably just because Cat's just not a great defender, so that might have something to do with it. I expect the Knicks to play at a much faster pace than they did last year. They were last in pace last year, and I expect them to improve greatly in that this year. So it's gonna be an interesting game. I do think Karl Anthony Towns is way too cheap. He's only 7,800. Like, yeah, he's only center eligible, but so what? I mean, I think that price tag is far too low. So I think 7,800 for him. He's my top overall play for New York. Josh Hart at 5,600. We have him projected for 36 minutes. He could easily go a little bit over that. I think he does a fantastic job of just filling up the stat sheet. He's his peripherals are outstanding. So at 5,600, he's definitely going to be like the chalk du jour. Like, I think he's like projected for like something like 66% ownership. But I mean, he's going to be a tough fade because he just fills up the stat sheet. So I absolutely love Josh Hart. And then Jalen Brunson, projected for 37% ownership, 8,700. I think he's a fantastic play, and I think he is going to like probably give you a little bit of leverage off Cat, because Cat's going to be super low owned. So you could get Knicks exposure and fade Cat, but straight up, Cat's a way better play. He's just going to be super, super chalky. But like cash games, it's Cat and Hart, and then tournaments for me, it'd be a Brunson. And then I think we have to talk about Miles McBride. We have him projected for 25 minutes. I think that he could easily go over that. He's point guard, shooting guard. He's going to be a really, really strong points per dollar option on the slate.
Yeah. So really quick, Precious, Mitch Rob out, Porzingis out for Boston. I always start with injuries. I totally forgot to do that. I wrote it down. But yeah, I mean, so on Tuesdays for RotoGrinders will be doing like salary tags. Josh Hart, definitely someone I have written down that I need to write up after the show's over. I think he's going to be one of the best and one of the chalkiest values, but I think he's a fantastic value play here. 5,600 is just too cheap, even against a tough Boston defense. Got to kind of look over the decent defensive aspects of this slate, just because it's a 2-game slate, and we're going to have to play, tougher matchups here. So absolutely love this spot for Hart. I like the Karl Anthony Towns call. You're going to hear me talk about him later in the show as well for the morning grind game. So I love this spot for him. I feel like he's going to come out and feel like he has something to prove after the big trade. So I think that is something that, maybe he's going to get fueled. And I feel like NBA, you kind of take over a game a little bit more than you could take over like a baseball game or something. So like the Karl Anthony Towns, I like the Josh Hart call. Don't sleep on like Jalen Brunson in this spot. I feel like he's kind of expensive and he'll kind of go overlooked on this slate. He's very capable of 50 plus fantasy points. He's going to play a bunch of minutes here. We know the Knicks love to play their guys big minutes. That's one thing that you're going to kind of have to go into knowing here. And yeah, I mean, McBride, very interested in him. He's way too cheap on DraftKings for his potential role. Everything I've read is like McBride could come off the bench and be like a 25-minute guy right off the bat here and get that usage with that second unit. And kind of look at it, and it's like he's a lot of upside in that second unit because there's not a lot of scorers in that second unit. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see Miles McBride take like 15 shots in this game off the bench. And if this game does kind of turn ugly in the Boston side of things, like McBride's going to stay on the floor. So I like McBride a bunch. He's another guy that I probably end up tagging here and writing up as a value play for this slate, especially for DraftKings. Nothing really else for me. I think the price on OG is a little but I think he's like a direct pivot off of Hart. I don't know if I'd play both of them in the same lineup together, but if Hart becomes like super chalky and you want to pivot off of Hart to OG and just hope that OG gets the production instead of Hart, I think that's a viable tournament strategy. especially if you're playing like the opening tip-off contest on DraftKings. It's 58,000 people playing the same contest on a 2-game slate. You got to try to build your lineups a little differently. Bridges is not going to have any ownership, so like he's a contrarian tournament play that you could take some shots on. But yeah, I mean, going way in depth here because it's 2-game slate, and we got to talk a little bit about these guys. So that's kind of it for me on the Knicks. Let's go to the Celtics. I'll let you go first here for Boston. What do you like here for the defending champs?
Yeah, so actually, I was kind of interested to see like what would be like ownership for Boston. Didn't come a lot really. Tatum at 43% is the highest projected owned player. Makes a lot of sense. Derek White is actually my favorite Celtics player. I was glad to see only 20% ownership for him. He's another guy that really fills up the stat sheet. Very strong peripherals. He's been shooting a ton in the preseason. So I really like Derek White is my favorite overall. Like points per dollar, I should say, points per dollar Boston player. He's a guy that I'm going to be heavy on props with also. So I love Derek White. Obviously, Tatum is the better raw point play, best raw point play on the team. But I think there's better spend up options than Brown and Tatum on the slate. So I'm going to stick with White. I can see getting to pieces of Holiday, and then I can see getting to some of these cheaper value guys off the bench, like Sam Hauser. Peyton Pritchard should play around 25 minutes. He's a good pivot off of McBride, I think, in GPPs. And then even like Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman should get some meaningful minutes. I do prefer Tillman just because he has that power forward eligibility. But so I'd go Derek White first, probably Drew, and then like Pritchard, a Hauser, and then I'm going to go underweight on Jalen and Tatum.
Yeah, so I think it's a really interesting spot for Boston ownership wise because Tatum's going to get quite a bit of ownership here. He's just a guy that could put up 50 fantasy points. I wouldn't even necessarily say like easily, but easily. So I think Tatum is obviously just kind of a really good floor play. We've seen him have ceiling games, but usually you see Jason Tatum have ceiling games when somebody's out. They're coming in here with like I say a full roster. I know Porzingis is going to miss a little bit of time, but it's a full roster in my opinion when you're looking at like Tatum, Brown, White, Drew, Horford, Porzingis. They're kind of interchangeable in my opinion. Porzingis, 3-4 years ago when he was healthy was just a beast, and when he's been healthy he's been really good. But so for me on the Boston side, I like the potential floor of Tatum. I like the ceiling of Derek White. I'm with you on him. He's someone that I really like on this slate. He's someone that can fill up the stat sheet like you mentioned. I'm not a huge Drew guy. His usage way down last year. I don't expect it to get much higher here. So I want to play Derek White, and in large field tournaments, I think I want to take some shots on like Peyton Pritchard just because he gets that usage off the bench. If this game kind of gets a little lopsided, I think that you could kind of benefit from Derek White or Pritchard maybe getting some extra minutes. I don't necessarily want to take shots on like Sam Hauser, in my opinion. I think that like Pritchard is the upside value play here. He's a guy at 4,700 that can get you like 20, 25, and has the upside to get like 30 if the game gets a little out of hand. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with Boston. I like the floor of Tatum. I'm going to be way overweight on Cat, so I'm not probably going to end up with a lot of Horford. You could potentially play Horford at power forward or forward on DraftKings. I probably don't get to a lot of Horford, though, just in general. He could play good minutes in this game with Cat on the other side, and Cat's not a good defender. So, like, my biggest concern, though, is Cat taking Horford to the 3-point line a lot.
Yeah,
and that's just not where I want Horford, because I want Horford down in the boxes, trying to get that like 8 to 10 rebound game to get that double upside, to try to get some of those points. Anything else from this game?
Nope. I think we pretty much covered it.
Chat asking Tillman if KP out. I just don't think Tillman plays a
No,
lot of minutes.
no, it's not. I wouldn't say that. We're already projecting KP out. We're only projecting Tillman for 12 and Cornette for 18. So if anything, I'd go with Cornette. And Stevie and I disagree on Hauser, and that's fine. But Hauser is my preferred bench piece. But
Oh yeah, I mean that's the best part about NBA.
right,
You know, you can have.
I just love it that
anything.
he chucks threes. You know,
Oh yeah.
so I mean, I do like guys that chuck for very very cheap. So
Yeah, I think I don't disagree with you as far as chucking. He's a guy that will put up threes, and if he gets hot and he hits, 4 for 8 from threes and does anything else like when he's on the floor, like yeah, I mean he can easily get you there. So I don't necessarily disagree with you. I like Pritchard more, and we're allowed to disagree. It's fine. All right, we go all the way to 10 o'clock. We got a 7:30. We got a 10 o'clock Eastern game. That's kind of how we're kicking off the season here. We'll go to Minnesota at LA, taking the Lakers, 219 total. Minnesota, a 1-point favorite. Vanderbilt and Wood out for the Lakers. Minnesota, good to go. Nobody on the injury report for Minnesota. You'll see some tags on DraftKings from some players, but Davis is good. He's not on the injury report. Russell's good. He's not on the injury report. So some of those tags are left over from preseason more than anything else. Minnesota, kind of a new look Minnesota team with Julius Randle. Doesn't matter for me. I want to play Anthony Edwards. He is not projecting for a ton of ownership, and yeah. I just want to play Anthony Edwards.
So the reason that I want to be underweight on Tatum and Jaylen Brown is because Anthony Edwards is right around the same price, and I like him so much more. So I love Anthony Edwards. He's going to be a 10K player this year easily. So 8,800 is an absolute bargain. I don't think he's going to be super, super chalky. So, I mean, we only have projected for 18% right now. Like, give me that all day. I'd be triple that, to be honest with you, if I was making 150. So, Edwards is probably might be my very favorite raw point player on the entire slate. Edwards is my number one. Gobert seems too cheap in this spot at 6,700. I'm gonna pass on Randall. I was actually looking at some of his unders in the prop market, but they're juiced pretty high, so I'm gonna stay away from them. But I don't like them for DFS purposes. And then guys like Conley and DiVincenzo, they're always like viable. Like Dante, he's a chucker, right? 5,100, gonna play around 25 minutes. Definitely has a ceiling at that price tag if he gets hot. Conley can be, I don't know. I don't really like playing Mike Conley, but he's fairly consistent at least. And then there's a couple bench pieces. Obviously, we got guys like Naz Reid, and then we have Alexander Walker, both under 5K. Both should play around 20 minutes. I would love to get to them in tournament settings, and I would love to get to them even in a 3-max setting if I need value, because I think both of these guys are going to play minutes, and just like DiVincenzo, they can get hot. So I like all three of those bench pieces for Minnesota: DiVincenzo, Reed, and Alexander Walker. But Ant is my absolute primary play.
Yeah, I mean, I like Edwards a lot. I kind of agree with you as far as Gobert. I think he's just a solid play at his price point. I don't think he's a guy that is like a make or break play, but I think that he's probably just too cheap. Like you could probably like Gobert and Cat feel like they're both underpriced, and like they might just make up my like center utility spot on DraftKings on my main team. I like DiVincenzo a lot more than you. I know you like Conley. I like DiVincenzo. I feel like I'm just like I have my fingers crossed he doesn't start tomorrow. I'm hoping that he doesn't start. I want him to come off the bench. I think he's still capable of playing like 28 to 30 minutes off the bench. And he's a guy that will go out there and get plenty of usage. Like he's going to get his usage. You look at that second unit, you mentioned like Naz Reid and Alexander Walker and those guys. McDaniel's probably going to start. So I feel like DiVincenzo kind of has a role opened up, and we could see like a really fun like DiVincenzo Nas Reed second unit this year for Minnesota, where they actually have a lot of upside, potentially playing the pick and stuff, because I mean, both of those guys are very capable off the dribble. So I think that's a really good spot. I don't think the Lakers are going to be any better on defense this year against guards. Kind of why I love Edwards as much as I do. And yeah, I mean, you look at the second unit, like they don't really have great defenders in the second unit either. So I really like DiVincenzo. I'll go into more detail on lineup HQ because he's another guy that I have written down that I'm going to tag for value or salary savers for this slate. But he's a guy that I'm going to take a pretty big stand on this one, and probably ends up in my main lineup as well. But yeah, I don't have a problem playing Edwards, DiVincenzo, and Gobert together. I'm hoping the production from Gobert and Edwards all happens with the first unit, and I'm just hoping that DiVincenzo gets a lot of second unit usage, and then maybe finishes out the second quarter and the fourth quarter with the first unit instead of Conley or McDaniels.
Yeah,
almost got the mute.
If I made it sound like I didn't like DiVincenzo, I apologize. I really like him quite a bit. He can get red hot from three, so definitely love DiVincenzo quite a bit.
Yeah, I didn't love the trade between Minnesota and New York overall, but I do like DiVincenzo on this team.
Yeah,
I don't like agree. Randall on this team, but I do like DiVincenzo on this team.
Yeah, Randall. It's gonna be interesting how Randall fits. Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna bring up Randall in general. Yep. He's projecting for very little ownership, and he's kind of expensive, and I think that's why his ownership is just so far down. It's like the ultimate 150 play. Like if you're going to MME this slate, it's a 2-game slate. It only takes you, I mean, potentially 15% ownership to double the field. And I don't think he's a bad option to. I don't think he's a bad option to double the field on, because Julius Randle is a guy that has that like boom bust ceiling. Do I love him in this spot? No. But can I see Julius Randle having a big game here? Sure. I mean, for sure. All right, let's go to the Lakers side here. Kind of the same look. Lakers, a little bit different pieces here and there. Obviously, new look coach with JJ Redick. I'm a huge JJ Redick fan. I don't know if anybody knows that or not. I've said it many, many times. Huge fan of him at Duke. Like when he was at Duke, it was like right around like the time that I feel like finishing high school or in college. I can't remember. It was like right around that time. I don't remember when he was at Duke off the top of my head, but it was right around that time, and I absolutely loved him at Duke. It was just fun to watch him play at Duke. And then he got drafted or played with the Orlando Magic, and rest is history. But anyway, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, it's opening night. Anthony Davis, stellar play. I just don't know how much Anthony Davis I'm going to end up on here. More of just because I think that Towns and Gobert are just underpriced. Like Anthony Davis has a huge ceiling, but spending up wise, I think that it makes more sense to pay up for a guy like Edwards. I think it makes more sense to pay up for like a Tatum or a LeBron, just because I think small forward is kind of weak on the slate. And a lot of people are going to try to save money at small forward. So what are your thoughts here when it comes to the Lakers?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously like Cat a lot more than AD from a points per dollar perspective. So I agree with you on that. I like Gobert also better from a points per dollar perspective, but ownership agrees with that also. So AD only coming in with 25% ownership, I think is a little low. So if he really is, I would probably play him level with the field. I don't mind him today, but he's probably not going to make my primary team. I think that's a great call by you. I like LeBron more than Tatum. So if I'm going to go expensive at small forward, power forwards, it's going to be with James over Tatum or Brown. so I don't mind LeBron. I obviously don't mind Hachimura either at 5K. I really like that price tag quite a bit. I think he's a very, very strong points per dollar play. What I'm having a hard time figuring out with is what the bench pieces are going to be for the Lakers. Really could go a lot of different ways. Who's going to be like the 6th, 7th guy off the bench? I don't know if you have any takes on that.
I have a little bit of takes. I think that Bronny James obviously going to get out there and play like 25 to 30. I'm just kidding. I don't want to keep going with that because I feel like people might actually take me serious. I want to play Dalton Netsch. Is it Netsch?
No, I think it's actually Connect.
Connect? Well, even better. Like he's going to connect, right? I feel like
I'm pretty sure that's actually what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like he's the guy. If you look at some of the preseason stuff, he was just chucking from 3, and it makes a lot of sense for them to have somebody like this off the bench. I don't know what to expect minutes-wise for him. He doesn't project for a ton of minutes, but if we could get like 15 to 20 minutes from him and he goes out there and shoots like 6 to 8, they call him Connect 4. That's even better. Oh my gosh,
wow,
I'm falling in love with this guy. He's number 4. That's yeah.
See, I thought he'd be the 6th man, but we have him only projected for 14 minutes. So I think that those Lakers reserve minutes are kind of fragile and kind of like probably like mixing and matching some of these bench pieces in an MME setting.
I feel like our projection model and a lot of projection models are going to kind of have Gabe Vincent and Max Christie being the guys.
Yeah, we have Christie then Hayes.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I feel like there's more upside, and we have a new morning grind question this year that we'll talk about when we do the game. But I feel like Connect 4 is like your boom bust upside guy. Like he's just that guy that if he does end up playing like 4 or 8 more minutes because he's shooting well, you're getting everything that you want, right? You're getting the production, you're getting the extra minutes. I feel like it's going to be Christie that gets the minutes, but I don't know how much upside Max Christie has. So I just don't love that guy.
I don't either. I really hope it's Connect. And
I don't think it will be Cam Reddish either. Like Cam Reddish is a name that's like down there, but yeah.
Yeah, we only have Reddish projected for 2 minutes. So
I think that makes a lot of sense. Jackson Hayes is another guy that like we should at least bring up because I do think that like there's a possibility that Jackson Hayes goes out and plays 15 to 20 minutes. So like he's another guy you could potentially have in your player pool and large field stuff. And like Hachimura is a really solid value play. Hachimura should, if JJ Redick is smart, Hachimura should play like 28 to 33 minutes in this game. And I think that kind of role at 5K is excellent, especially like Anthony Davis isn't afraid to like chuck a 3 every once in a while. So Hachimura might run into more rebounds than we think.
Yeah, I mean, I love Hachimura, certainly from a points per dollar perspective. He should really smash that 5K price tag.
Anything else here from the Lakers?
Nope, I think we pretty much covered it. Russell's only 6,200. He's going to play over 30 minutes, I assume. I think he's going to be under 25% owned also. So I think he's a decent GPP play.
They had to get Derrick Henry his touchdown.
Did they give him one? They gave him his, okay.
It was like a 13-yard pass, which gave I think that's Lamar's 5th touchdown of the night. So my take on fading him was even worse. Rough night to fade Lamar, Stevie. Brutal. I'm with you on Russell. Like Russell and Reeves, if you're going to be underweight on Davis and LeBron, make a ton of sense because you're kind of hoping the production comes from those guys instead of LeBron and Anthony Davis. So, I don't hate playing them. Again, Minnesota's a tough defensive team. I think they're going to be even tougher now without Cat. Cat was a really bad defender on a good defensive team. So but it's a 2-game slate. You throw defense out the window. Don't worry about that defense stuff because it just doesn't matter. All right, Tim, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. We won't go this much in depth on bigger slates on games, but on a 2-game slate opening night, we had to go into depth a lot more than we typically do. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, make sure you subscribe to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind YouTube page for all the NBA guys and gals that take baseball and football season off and back for NBA. We have a Morning Grind YouTube page. Go check it out. Subscribe. Turn on the notifications. We record most nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. All right. Morning Grind game, DK pricing and scoring. We might switch this up and do FanDuel every once in a while. Favorite play under 5K to go 7X. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with the easy chalk one. There's different ways you can go about it, but I love Miles McBride.
Yeah. McBride is who I had written down too. I thought you were going to go Hauser. I was hoping you were going to go Hauser. I think I got to go Connect 4, man. I love the nickname. Maybe he only gets like 15 minutes and I'm way wrong. But
embrace the volatility, man. It's opening night.
Yeah, and like at the end of the day, when you're looking at options under 5K, there's only a few that like have that ceiling. I think Naz Reid is the other guy that really has that, and Pritchard. Those are the two guys. But I already have Pritchard written down for another question, so I'm gonna go with Connect 4.
I have Hauser written down for a different question. So
all right, fair enough. Over 8K to go under 5X. Who is your bust today?
I'm gonna go Randall.
All right. I think he busts more than he crushes, but I think that like if you're playing a lot of teams, you have to play a little bit.
Yes.
Jalen Brunson is my answer. This one's scary to me, but he was a guy like he would have games in the 50s and 60s, but he'd also have those games in like the 30s and low 40s. He's expensive. I expect his usage to be massive, but again, as much as I like Karl Anthony Towns, I'm hoping that Brunson's the bust. So that's kind of where my thought process was. Favorite 6X play?
I'm going to go with Josh Hart.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Like I said, I'll have him tagged and written up before I go to bed tonight over there for premium on Lineup HQ. I'm going to go Karl Anthony Towns. I absolutely love this spot for Towns over 6X. One of my favorite plays on the entire slate. So I'm going to go Karl Anthony Towns. New question for the morning grind game. I really like this question. I got asked a lot last year about like just giving out some ceiling GPP plays because we're still going to do the Let's Get Weird GPP play too, but I feel like that's trying to find somebody that's like 3% owned. This question is designed just to give out your favorite GPP ceiling play. Could be 10K guy, could be a 5K guy. Who is your favorite GPP ceiling play?
Is there an ownership threshold? Doesn't matter.
No, it could be whatever you want. He could be the chalkiest person on the slate, but you feel like GPP wise, like 5 starters are out and this guy's going to play 40 minutes and take 30 shots. Like it's whoever you feel like has the highest ceiling on the slate.
All right. So it's Anthony Edwards for me easily.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I think that's a great answer, right? Like that's the design of the morning grind game is the Let's Get Weird GPP play is that weird, like, low-owned guy that you think has some upside. But this question is just like, who is that guy? Who is the guy that is going to either break the slate or absolutely nothing? I'm going to go Derek White. I think Derek White has a lot of GPP ceiling on this slate. I definitely did factor in the price here a little bit. But, I mean, we saw it in the series with Dallas. They're willing to play this guy big minutes. He does a lot. He rebounds, he assists, he steals, he gets blocks. He can score 15 to 20 points on any given night. I feel like he's just a guy that can fill the stat sheet, and that's kind of what you want when you're thinking GPP ceiling. So Derek White is my favorite GPP ceiling play of the day. Let's get weird GPP play of the day. Someone low owned that is potentially scoring 5 points, 20 points, 30 points. It could be just that weird, random. We like to use the 10% threshold. Who's a low owned play that you like today?
For me, it's Sam Hauser. He's 11%, so I'm going to give myself that 1%.
Oh, no. I think on a 2-game slate, anything under like 15% is great.
Sam Hauser for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think this question today is awesome on a 2-game slate because there's not a lot of options down here. I went back and forth on this question, but I kept coming back to the same guy. Mikal Bridges is going to start. He's probably going to play 35 minutes in this game, and he's not getting any ownership whatsoever. I feel like Mikal Bridges is just somebody that is that let's get weird GPP play. Like, no one is going to be on this guy. He's kind of just flying way under the radar. And there's not many guys that are under 15% owned that are projecting for 35 minutes. So can he sit in the corner all game? Yeah, he can. We've seen it many, many times. But can he fill the stat sheet when he's having a good game? He can. So Mikal Bridges is somebody that I really like, and he's my let's get weird GPP play of the day. I feel like his price is kind of one of the reasons that his ownership is so low. But take advantage of that. You know, those are the kind of players that you got to look for on a 2-game NBA slate. All right, betting portion of the show. For the betting portion, we're gonna do 2 questions this year. Not today, but moving forward, I will have like a 3-pick parlay. Most slates, this with a 2-game slate, I wasn't going to do one. The first betting question is, Jamison Williams facing a 2-game suspension.
For what?
It says performance enhancing substance policy. So,
oh man.
That was my phone going off. I didn't realize that my ringer was off this whole time. Hopefully you guys didn't hear it a lot. Favorite over-under money line against the spread. Looking at lines, only 2 games. You don't have to pick anything if you don't want to. Is there anything that you're jumping off the page to bet here?
My favorite would be the under in the Boston New York game, 221.5 across all books. I do like the under in this game.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I can get on that. Mine is Minnesota +1. I think Minnesota is the better team than the Lakers. I think that the Lakers just being at home, they get that 1.5, 2.5 points that we always talk about, you know, for the home teams. And I think Minnesota, you could bet their money line if you want to, 1 point. If you're just kind of feeling like you want a little bit of safety valve for a little bit more juice. It's not a lot. It's like -115 instead of -110 for the money line. So I bet Minnesota +1.5. I'm going to say I still like it at +1. I like the money line too. I think Minnesota wins this game. So that's my bet on this one. I've already bet this one. Favorite player prop or pick 'em play?
So I just bet Derek White over 23.5 PRAs.
Oh, I like it. Oh, yeah, I might have to.
That's on DraftKings.
Might have to tail that one. I like that one. I'm going to be writing this up on Scores and Odds. If no one has it written up yet, I don't know. I haven't really checked a lot of the betting stuff. I've been super busy today, but I'm going to go Karl Anthony Towns over 21.5 points. I bet this earlier. I think I bet it on Saturday at 20.5. I'm still liking it at 21.5. We talked a lot about Cat on the show. I think over 21.5 here against Al Horford is a good bet. So give me Karl Anthony Towns over 21.5 points. I think that he's going to be playing with a little bit more motivation in his first game in this uniform. So I like that one a lot. Tim, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, well, let's have a great NBA season. Let's go. Let's do it.
I'm excited. NBA is back. We're back Wednesday talking NBA, and Tampa just recovered the onside kick. So we'll go watch the end of that, and hope everyone enjoyed the show. We're back tomorrow. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.